Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. This is virtual class of Pakistan International School, Taif. I am Miss Bushra Tanveer. This is Social Studies class for grade 7. This is our 12th video of this Social Studies class. In this video, we shall discuss chapter number 13 from Social Studies book. Dear students, after today's lesson, we shall be able to understand the text given in chapter 13. We shall be able to understand the MCQs, short question and long question answers from the book. We shall be able to understand question answers of Islamic Culture Unit 1. Now we shall start our chapter 13. The heading of the chapter, the decline and the reawakening of Muslims. The first subheading, the decline of the Muslims. The 19th century was a time of the rise of the European power and the decline of Muslims throughout Asia and Europe. In Eastern Europe, the Ottoman Empire of Turks was slowly losing ground. Persia and Egypt too gradually came under Western domination. India was already under British control, and France had gained control of the Maghreb states, Morocco and Algeria and Tunisia. Dear students, in this chapter we shall discuss about the decline and the reawakening of the Muslims. Do you know who ruled India after the Mughals? The British. And in the Mughal era, that was the time when the Muslim declining was started, and from the 19th century till 15th century was the zenith period of the Muslim world. It means that in that time, from the 9th century till 15th century, Muslim overruled all over the world. But in the Mughal era, the Muslim declining was started in the Mughal era, and the West on that time, the European, in the 19th century, European powers rises and the declining of Muslim throughout Asia and Europe. It means that on that time, in the 19th century, Muslims loses their power, and the Southeast Asia and the East Africa, all these countries who are in power on that time, these countries were the rich resources, and these countries were in the handed over of the European powers in the 19th century. Politically, there were the rivalries and corruption which weakened the states, making them dependent on the Europeans, who had grown stronger as a result of their education, industry, and increasing wealth. The Industrial Revolution in the West also made it rich and power. In this paragraph, we shall discuss about the declining of the Muslims, how the Muslims loses their powers all over the world, the reasons underlying the decline of Muslims in the 17th and 18th centuries have been discussed in the book, and the first point, which is very important, that weak, incompetent or aggressively ambitious rulers. The second reason, decline in education. The third reason, the Industrial Revolution gave the European great wealth and technical superiority, especially in weaponry. Corruption in many Muslim states weakened them, and all these are the reasons when the declining of Muslims was started. Dear students, in front of your computer screen you can see the picture It's a colonial landmarks in Algiers. Actually, colonized or colonial means to settle a people in a place as colony. And this picture, in the picture you can see that it's a time of the conquest of Uthman, when the Usmania era was overruled over there, and it was the time of 1830, and on that time the Muslims, Osman people of that, and Algeria is the part of the France. It's a city of France, and it's a part of the country France. And in here you can see in the picture that the people, they colonized the cities to settle down the people as a colony. Dear students, now in the next subheading we shall see the reawakening of Islam. Islam reached its peak in northern India under the Mughals, but even at the height of their power, the Mughals were a minority, outnumbered by Hindus by 5 or 6 to 1. Many of the Mughal emperors were devout and dedicated Muslims, though there were many nobles and ordinary people who were not so strict. Many abuses began to creep. In this paragraph, we shall discuss how the Muslim reawaken of Islam means how the Islam rises the Muslim, and the reason was that in that time most of the leaders, they took the control of the Muslims, and at that time under the great Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb, after Aurangzeb's death in 1707, there was a succession of emperors who looked for little but their own pleasure, and the Muslims of the subcontinent, how they have to arise in, or how the Islam reawakened the Muslim. The leader on that time, this allowed the French and finally the British to gradually take over almost the entire countries. But there was also some wise and sensible people who realized the importance of unity, education, and a common purpose for the Muslims. There were religious figures like Shah Walillah and other Sufi saints, and all these leaders, they struggled to reawakening the Muslim, and they also aware the Muslim by the knowledge, by the religious knowledge, and due to that the Muslims have the Muslim got the great achievement in their religious features. Dear students, now the next paragraph. The Muslims of the subcontinent weakened as a community as a result of ineffective leadership and frequent fighting amongst themselves as well as against the Sikhs and the Marathas. This allowed the French and finally the British to gradually take over almost the entire countries. In this picture you can see the pictures of the madrasas. Madrasas means that on that time the Muslims were given the education in madrasa. Each of these leaders calls on their fellow Muslims to arise and become aware and active to develop into a strong and finally independent community. The madrasas and maktabs are the basic center of Islamic learning, played a major role in the revival of the Muslims. Ulama, as the scholars were known, advocate a return to Quranic principles to reform society, and most of the scholars and the people and the leaders, they gave the knowledge of the Muslim in the madrasas or in the maktabs. Now we shall see the first person, that person had a great struggle for the Muslims. Shah Waliullah, 1703 to 1762. Shah Waliullah was born in a strict religious family, his father being a teacher as a madrasa in Delhi. Waliullah was educated here and later went on to study in Mecca. When he returned 14 years later, the Muslim situation was even worse and they were deeply divided. People had different ideas of what the religion really meant, largely because of the Holy Quran was in Arabic, and at most people didn't know the language. They had to believe whatever their leaders and the preachers told them. Shah Waliullah has the great effort for the Muslims, and first of all, to understand the Muslim, he translated the Quran in Arabic, and later on his son translate the Quran in the Urdu language to understand for the people. Dear students, now we shall see the next leader, Sayyid Ahmad Shaheed. While Waliullah was a thinker, Sayyid Ahmad Shaheed was a man of action. Islam seemed under even strong attack as the Sikhs had taken over Punjab and much of what later became the northwestern frontier province. British influence and religion were pushing in from the east and south. After training at Shah Waliullah's old madrasa, Sayyid Ahmad Shaheed joined the Pathan army, especially studying European artillery. And here is also about discussed about the struggle of Sayyid Ahmad Shaheed for the Muslims. In front of your computer screen, you can see the picture, a view of Balakot, where Sayyid Ahmad Shaheed fought and is buried. The history of that city is the chief of Peshawar, Yar Muhammad, who pretended to be Sayyid Ahmad Ali, tried to kill him, but he was forced to retreat to Balakot to try and liberate Kashmir. And Sayyid Ahmad Shaheed, they attacked, and Sayyid Ahmad Shaheed was killed. And this was the effective end of the jihad movement at the time. And in this, now we'll see the next paragraph. The chief of Peshawar, Yar Muhammad, who pretended to be Sayyid Ahmad Ali, tried to kill him, and in a desperate battle with the Sikhs, took an army away, hoping that Sayyid Ahmad would be killed and he did not die, however, but was forced to retreat Balakot and trying and liberate Kashmir. Here some traitors showed the Sikhs and undefended gate to the town. And in this paragraph, you will see how the chief of Peshawar, Yar Muhammad, fought with the Sayyid Ahmad Shaheed, and Sayyid Ahmad Shaheed was killed in fighting, and the jihad movement was ended. Dear students, now we shall see the MCQs from this chapter. Shah Waliullah was educated at the madrasa in Hyderabad, Delhi, Punjab, Lucknow. The correct option is Delhi. The Holy Quran was translated by Shah Waliullah in Sindhi, Urdu, Persian, Punjabi. The correct option is Persian. The third MCQ, Shah Waliullah stayed in Makkah for 1.5 years, 12 years, 4 years and 14 years. The correct option is 14 years. Sayyid Ahmad Shaheed marched with his name Kabul, Ghazni, Herat, Bukhara. The correct option is Kabul. The northwest frontier post was renamed Khyber Pakhtunkhwa in year 2000, 2010, 2005 and 2001. The correct option is 2010. Now the short question answer from this chapter. The first question, what is the movement of jihad? Sayyid Ahmad Shaheed started a great movement in the north of India. This movement is known as Movement of Jihad. This movement arranged a power in the struggle of freedom in Muslims. Question number 2. When did NWFP province rename and what is its new name? The Northwest Frontier Province was renamed in 2010 and its new name is Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Question number 3. What were the roles of madrasas in the reawakening of Muslims? The madrasas and the maktabs are the basic center of Islamic learning, played a major role in the revival of the Muslims. Ulama, as the scholars were known, advocated a return to Quranic principles to reform society. Question number 4. What is a maktab? A maktab is also a place of learning. The word maktab comes from the word kitab, meaning book. Dear students, now we shall see the question answer from the exercise. The first question: what were the factors that led to the decline of Muslim states in the 17th and 18th centuries? The reasons underlying the decline of the Muslims in the 17th and 18th centuries have been discussed in detail in book, and the few points which are discussed is: the first one, weak, incompetent or aggressively ambitious rulers; B, decline in education; C, the Industrial Revolution gave the European great wealth and technical superiority, especially in weaponry; number D, corruption in many Muslim states weakened them; internecine strife; number F, pursuit of worldly power and wealth. Question number 2. Why were the subcontinent and the South Asia East Asian Muslim states important to the colonial power? The subcontinent and Southeast Asian states were important to the colonial powers because they formed a guaranteed market for European goods. India was flooded with cheap cotton goods from Lancashire, although it had a great long established hand weaving industry of its own, but which could not compete with the machinery of West. The colonies were also a source of raw materials of all kinds, especially for textiles, gold, and precious stones. Question number 3. How could the countries of Muslim world have retained their independent status? Muslims might have maintained independence by adhering to the laws of Islam, especially regarding equality and just treatment, had the rulers spent more time and effort in the social development and uplifting of their people. They would have had stronger economies as a result of education and industry, and would have been able to retain their independence. Question number 4. In what ways can ideas of Shah Waliullah and Sayyid Ahmad Shahid be called progressive? Both Shah Waliullah and Sayyid Ahmad Shahid were religious thinkers and leaders who believed in and promoted a fair and just system. They also tried to unite the people into a nation. Their ideas can be called progressive because Waliullah, by translating the Quran into the vernacular, hoped that people could understand its teaching properly. He fought for more equality and urged people to return to the tenets of their faith. Sayyid Ahmad Shahid tried to put many of these ideas, well ahead of their time, into practice through the concept of jihad as a struggle for liberation from oppressive rulers and a movement towards the spirit of Islam. Question number 5. Find out and list some of the natural resources of the Muslim countries that came under Western domination in 17th and 18th century. The Muslim countries in Asia were rich in natural resources, spices, minerals, precious metals and stones, ivory and timber. North African Muslim countries were colonized after the 19th century. The population of all these Muslim and other colonized countries were a source of cheap labor for the West. Dear students, now we see the question answer of Islamic culture, Unit 1. The heading of the chapter, Social Relationship. Question number 1. Why is family the cornerstone of Islamic life? It considered the family cornerstone of Islamic society. It bases the atmosphere in the family on sacrifice, love, loyalty, and obedience. Question number 2. How does Islamic organize family relation? Islam organizes a husband-wife relationship and parents-children relationship. Question number 3. How is marriage relationship described in Quran? In the Quran, marriage relationship is described as one with tranquility, love, and mercy. Question number 4. What is the best garment described in the Quran? Answer. The best garment described in Quran is the garment of Allah's consciousness. Question number 5. Could any creature ever lie alone without help from its similar creature? Answer. No creature could ever lie alone without help from its similar creature. Question number 6. Why do we need one another in our life? Answer. We need one another for different purposes. We are in need of a doctor, engineer, teacher, a craftsman, a baker, a carpenter, a blacksmith, a pilot, a train diver, etc. Question number 7. Why does gift giving keep in Muslim society? Answer. It strengthens relation between the giver and the receivers. It is one of the acts that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam advised Muslims to do. Question number 8. Did Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam accept gift? Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to accept gifts and reward people for giving them. Question number 9. Should we reward people for giving gifts? Answer. Yes, we should reward people for giving gifts, and it means giving the giver at a later time something of equal values, at least in return. Question number 10. How do Muslims view marriage? Muslims view marriage at the base of society and family life. Dear students, we had discussed about the chapter number 13. I discussed with you the few paragraphs from this chapter, and few texts were given in the book. You will read that text by yourself 2 or 3 times, that it will be very easy for you to understand. And also I had discussed with you the question answer from the exercise, MCQs and the short question answer. Now see the homework. Read the text given in the chapter 13 2 or 3 times, that each and everything will be clear to you. Learn and write the MCQs, short question and the long question answer from chapter 13. And learn and write the question answer from Islamic culture. We also discussed the question answer from the Islamic culture in this video. And you will write and learn all the question answer from the Islamic culture also. See you in the next video. Goodbye.